My ex demanded I pay $6,000 for her new husband's kids' school trip. Now she wants me to buy them a $350K house. But my answer left them speechless. I'm 34 years old, work in finance, and I've been dealing with a situation for 8 years that honestly has me at my limit. My twins are 8 years old, and their mother, Sophia. The thing is, at first everything was going well. I mean, as well as it can go when you split up with someone with newborn babies, you know? We established a shared custody agreement, we took turns with emergencies, and even though we weren't best friends, it worked. The kids spent 1 week with me, 1 week with her, and when someone needed something extra, we'd call each other and work it out like adults. I thought we had it all under control, that we were one of those exes who really put the kids first and all that stuff. I should have known it was too good to last. When the twins were about 2 years old, Sophia met Michael. He was also divorced and had a daughter the same age as our kids. They were literally born months apart. At first I thought it was fine, like, she deserves to be happy and the kids need stability, and Michael seemed like a decent guy. They got married quickly, like a year after meeting, and that's when things started to change in a way I didn't see coming. Sophia started with casual comments like, "Hey, when you take the twins to the park, why don't you take Michael's daughter too?" Or, "The kids want to go to the movies this weekend, but the stepsister is going to feel left out if only the two of them go." And at first I thought, well, I guess that's reasonable. They're living together, and the kids get along, right? So, a couple of times I said yes. I took all 3 kids somewhere, but I always felt weird about it, like I was crossing some invisible boundary I hadn't agreed to cross. The thing escalated in a way that I swear, if someone had told me before, I wouldn't have believed it. Sophia started expecting me to include Michael's stepdaughter in absolutely everything. If I bought toys for the twins at Christmas or birthdays, she said, I had to buy the same for the girl so she wouldn't feel less than. If I planned a special weekend with my kids, like going to an amusement park or something, Sophia would call me, saying the other girl was crying because she couldn't go, and that I was selfish for not thinking about the whole family. And when I say family, she literally expected me to treat Michael's daughter as if she were mine too. One day she asked me to babysit the girl because Michael and she had a date night, and when I told her it wasn't my responsibility, she got so angry she didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. Like, seriously? I'm not that girl's dad. She already has a father who's supposed to take care of her. I had to sit down with Sophia and set clear boundaries, and let me tell you that conversation was shit. I explained that I had financial and emotional responsibilities to our twins, not to her entire new family. That I could be kind to the stepdaughter when I saw her, but that I'm going to act like her father because I wasn't. Sophia looked at me like I had spit in her face and told me I was being cruel. That the kids didn't understand those differences, and that I was hurting an innocent girl with my selfish boundaries. Her husband Michael also got involved, started sending me messages saying that in blended families all children should be treated equally, and that if I really loved my kids, I would want their sister to be happy too. The logic made no sense to me, but they acted like I was the monster. After that fight, we basically stopped co-parenting and switched to what they call parallel parenting, which basically means each person does their thing on their week, and we only communicate about the absolutely necessary. It was tense. I'm not going to lie, but at least I didn't have to deal with absurd demands every other day. A couple more years passed relatively peacefully. Well, peaceful in quotes because Sophia kept making passive-aggressive comments in time we saw each other to exchange the kids, but nothing I couldn't handle. Meanwhile, her family kept growing. They had a baby together, a girl who's now about 2 years old, and Michael also brought his nephew to live with them because Michael's brother had problems and couldn't take care of the kid. So now in that house live my 2 twins part of the time, plus Michael's stepdaughter, plus their baby, plus Michael's nephew. It's like a house full of kids, and honestly I don't know how they do it. But it's not my problem either. Right? I keep my focus on my kids. I support them emotionally. I pay what I have to pay according to our divorce agreement, and I try to be the best father I can be when they're with me. Everything exploded again about 6 months ago. The twins' school announced an incredible educational trip, like one of those that only happen once, to Washington, D.C. for a whole week. The problem, or the reason it became a problem, is that for some weird administrative reason, they mixed two grades on the trip, so kids the twins' age were going, and also some older ones. Turns out Michael's stepdaughter and his nephew also qualified for the trip because they were in those grades. When Sophia called me to tell me about the trip, I already knew, because the kids had told me, super excited. I told her yes, of course I would pay for the twins' share, which cost about $1,200 per kid, plus additional expenses. I mean, almost $3,000 total for both. It's not little money, but it's for my kids, and it's something they'll remember their whole lives. So, I didn't even hesitate. Sophia was quiet for a moment, and then said, "Well, I need you to also pay for the other two kids." Just like that. As if nothing, as if she was asking me to pay for an extra pizza or something casual. I said what? Thinking I had heard wrong, and she repeated, "You need to pay for the stepdaughter and the nephew too. They're part of the family, and it's not fair for your kids to go and them not to." I literally felt like my brain short-circuited. I told her no way, that those kids had their own parents or guardians who should pay for them, that Michael worked and could cover those expenses. Sophia started yelling at me on the phone, saying that Michael and she were struggling financially with 4 kids in the house, that the baby needed diapers and formula, that they barely had enough for basics, and that if I really cared about my kids, I would understand that they wanted their siblings to go with them on the trip. I told her I was very sorry about their financial situation, but it wasn't my responsibility to solve it, and I hung up because I was already too angry to keep talking. I thought that was it, but oh no, it was just starting. The next day Michael called me. He never calls me. It's always Sophia who handles communication. He told me we needed to talk man to man about the situation, that we should meet for coffee. I agreed, because, honestly, part of me was curious to hear what he had to say. We met at a diner near my house, and he basically gave me a half-hour speech about what it means to be family, about sacrifice, about putting the kids first. He told me that Sophia and he had made enormous sacrifices to raise all those kids together, that they didn't make differences between mine, his, or ours, and that I should have the same mentality. That if the twins went on the trip and the other two didn't, resentments were going to grow, the kids were going to feel divided, and basically I would be destroying the family dynamic they had worked so hard to build. I listened without interrupting him, waited for him to finish his speech, and then told him as calmly as I could that I respected how they chose to handle their household, but that I couldn't and wouldn't assume financial responsibilities for kids who aren't mine. That I understood it was difficult, but that they made the decision to mix so many kids under one roof, and those consequences were theirs, not mine. Michael turned red. Honestly, he looked genuinely offended and told me I was being incredibly selfish, or that I made good money in finance, and that for me, $6,000 was nothing compared to what it would mean for those kids. I told him it wasn't about the money, it was about the principle, and we parted without resolving anything. I drove back to my house feeling this weird mix of guilt and anger, because part of me understood that yes, it's sad the other kids can't go, but the other part of me thought, why the hell is it my problem? Sophia didn't give up. A week later, she asked me to meet again, just the two of us, at the same diner. This time it was different. She came with a calmer attitude, almost pleading. She explained that they had tried to get the money in every possible way, that they had applied for scholarships for the kids but didn't qualify, that Michael's family didn't have money to help. She told me that the twins came home every day from school talking about the trip, super excited, and that the stepdaughter and nephew listened to them in silence, without saying anything, but that she saw the sadness in their eyes. She asked me if I didn't feel anything for those kids, if I could live with the idea that they would be left behind while my kids lived this incredible experience. And the worst part is, she said it in such an emotional way that, for a moment, I swear, I considered giving in. But then I thought about all the times I had given in before, all the times I had bent my boundaries to accommodate them, and how it had never been enough. There was always another demand, another expectation, another kid to include. I told her no. Again. I told her I perfectly understood the situation and that I felt bad, but my answer was no, and I wasn't going to change my mind. Sophia started crying there at the table, told me I was being cruel, that someday the twins were going to grow up and, understand that their father could have helped their family, but chose not to. That the kids were going to remember this, that it was going to damage my relationship with them. That shit hurt. I'm not gonna lie, because the last thing I want is for my kids to think I'm selfish or that I don't care about their family. But I also knew that if I gave in now, where did it end? Next time, was I going to have to pay for everyone's college, buy everyone cars when they turned 16? Where was the limit? I told her I was sorry, but my decision was final. I paid for my coffee and left. She stayed there sitting, crying, and I felt like the worst person in the world, but I held my ground. I thought after that they would leave me alone. But no. That's when things got really crazy. Sophia's mom called me. Her sister sent me like 20 text messages. Even her brother, who lives in another state, added me on Facebook just to send me a long message telling me I was a terrible father and that I was embarrassing the family. Everyone basically repeating the same thing, that I had the money and that refusing to help was pure evil. Sophia's mom told me she raised her kids to help each other, that family is the most important thing, and that I clearly didn't understand that concept. Sophia's sister was more aggressive. Told me not to be surprised if my own kids ended up hating me when they grew up and realized how selfish I had been. The brother was the most ridiculous. He wrote me this super long message about family values and moral responsibility, and when I responded that he was welcome to contribute to the kids' trip if he cared so much, he blocked me. Typical. For 2 full weeks, it was a constant bombardment of messages, calls, even emails. Sophia sent me photos of the 4 kids together with messages like, "Look at them, they're siblings. How can you divide them like this?" Michael sent me screenshots of his bank account, showing me they literally didn't have the money. The pressure was intense. I started doubting myself in a way I hadn't felt before. I found myself awake at 3 in the morning, wondering if I was being an asshole, if I was really traumatizing these kids, if my own kids were going to end up resenting my decision. I talked to friends, to my brother, even to my therapist I had started seeing after the divorce. Everyone, literally everyone, told me to stand firm. I told her, "Listen to me carefully because I'm not going to repeat this. I'm not going to pay for the other kids. My answer is no, and it's going to keep being no. No matter how many people call me or send me messages. So please tell your family to stop, because the only thing they're accomplishing is making me start to consider modifying the custody agreement if this keeps being so toxic." I think the custody threat was what finally made her react. Because after that call, everything stopped. Overnight, everyone stopped contacting me. Sophia went back to short, professional messages about kid logistics, and never mentioned the trip or the other kids again. It was a huge relief, but I also felt exhausted, like I had fought a war. The twins went on the trip last month, and it was amazing for them. They came back full of stories about the monuments, the museums, the White House, everything. They showed me like 1,000 photos and videos, and seeing them so happy made all that shit with Sophia worth it. They didn't mention anything about the other kids or if they felt bad that they didn't go, which made me think that maybe all that drama was more about Sophia and Michael than about what the kids really felt. When I returned them to Sophia after the trip, she was kind, almost normal, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel that horrible tension between us. I thought we had finally reached an understanding, that she had accepted that I had clear boundaries, and that those boundaries weren't negotiable. About 2 months of relative peace passed. Communication improved a bit, the kid exchanges were smoother, and honestly, I started to relax. The twins seemed happy in both houses. I didn't detect any resentment or emotional problems, so I assumed all that drama was behind us. But then, 3 weeks ago, Sophia called me again. This time her voice sounded different, like more calculated. She told me we needed to talk about the future, about security for the kids. I agreed to listen even though something in my stomach told me I wasn't going to like what was coming. Sophia proceeded to explain that the house where they currently live is getting too small, with so many kids, that they need more space, that the kids are growing and need privacy. All that sounded reasonable until she got to the point. She told me she had seen a perfect house in a better neighborhood, with more bedrooms, with a big yard for the kids, but it cost a lot and they didn't qualify for the mortgage on their own. She asked me, or rather told me, that I should buy them that house. Just like that. She explained that technically it would be my investment because our twins would live there half the time, that it was for their benefit, and that when the kids grew up, the house could be part of their inheritance. I asked her how much the house cost, and she said, like $350,000, and that if I put down the down payment of $70,000 and backed the mortgage, they would take care of the monthly payments. I was literally speechless for a moment, processing what she was asking me. Then I started laughing. Like, I couldn't help it. The audacity was so absurd that I just laughed. I told her absolutely not, that there was no way I was going to buy them a house, that this shouldn't even be a conversation. Sophia got really upset, told me I never changed, that I always put money before my kids, that other parents would do, anything to give their kids the best possible life. I cut her off right there and told her my kids have a roof over their heads when they're with me, and they have one when they're with you. That's more than enough, and that if you want a bigger house, that's your and Michael's responsibility to figure out, not mine. I hung up before she could respond, because honestly, I didn't want to hear anymore. She hasn't mentioned the house thing again, but I know it won't be the last time she tries something like this. It's like a pattern now. Every so often there's a new demand, a new way to try to get me to finance their entire life. And every time I stand firm, every time I say no, and every time I feel a little more tired of all this. My twins are 8 years old now, and I have 10 more years of co-parenting with Sophia, minimum, before they're of age. Sometimes I wonder how I'm going to survive another decade of this, of these constant battles over boundaries that should be clear I'm not going to cross. But then I see my kids happy, balanced, with no apparent drama in their lives despite their parents' chaos, and that gives me strength to continue. I've learned not to feel guilty for having clear boundaries, for saying no, for standing firm in what I consider fair. Sophia can think I'm selfish. Her family can think I'm a bad father. Michael can think whatever he wants. But at the end of the day, I sleep peacefully, knowing I'm fulfilling my responsibilities to my kids without letting them manipulate me into doing more than what corresponds to me. Last week, the twins were at my house, and my daughter asked me if we could go camping soon. Just the three of us. I told her yes, let's plan a weekend. And my son said, without anyone asking him, I like it when we're here, Dad. Everything is simpler. I don't know exactly what he meant by that. If he was referring to the fact that in the other house there's too much chaos with so many kids or what, but it made me feel like I'm doing something right. That's enough for now, I guess.